Hi, everyone. So, Jeffrey, I know a lot of people are watching this on the Agent Inc. media, so I went ahead and I just muted you just so it can be the two hosts, so Scott and Fred, that will be conducting their interview back and forth. But I know there's probably a bunch of people that are watching this on Agent Elevated on the actual website where it's being recorded. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Fred and Scott. We're currently live on Agent Inc. Media for everyone that is watching.
Good morning, Fred.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Don't seem to be able to get my video up, but that's not the end of the world, I guess.
Well, we'd sure love to have it. Good morning, Fred. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Jeffrey Samuels tuning in from Hawaii, bright and early Hawaii time. Jeffrey, good to have you. And I know there were a few issues with people logging in this morning, so we'll wait just a minute and, people a chance to connect. And Christine, do we have an opportunity for Jeffrey to interact, or is this format only allowing people to listen?
There we go.
I'm going to answer that for Christine. So Scott, the Zoom meeting that we're on is for people on Agent Elevated to watch the live stream. The only people that should really be in this meeting are on Zoom are just you and Fred. But Jeffrey's also in here. So if he does want to interact, he can surely unmute himself, but everyone else, you won't be able to see who's on, but they're watching live from Agent Elevated.
Okay, fantastic. And I can't see who those people are, but welcome. Correct. Everybody. Fred, thank you for spending time with us. Always look forward to hearing what the latest is on your journey, because it's just remarkable. And especially with the market adjusting the way it is, agents finding it more difficult to do deals. I mean, I'd be willing to bet, I haven't heard the latest update from you, but I'd be willing to bet that your world hasn't changed much, that as the degree of difficulty's gone up in the industry and sales overall have come down, that your sales are humming right along because of what you do and how you do it. So really excited to get an update on your journey. It's an opportunity for everybody to learn the skills that move the needle in our business. And so thanks for the time. I did send in the reminder email to the group that one of the things we'd focus on as a topic would be making today pay, which is just always at the core of everything you do. So welcome, my friend. Thank you for your time. Give us an update on what real estate is looking like for you right now.
Great to be here. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Hello, everybody. Of course, I'm still in my gym clothes. Sorry.
That's all right.
I kind of live in these things. I work out real early in the morning, and sometimes I just don't get out of it. But, my business right now is different in the sense that, I think I mentioned to you before, I'm writing a book, The Production Model, and it's quite a project. Anybody who's ever written a book knows exactly what I'm talking about. And we're in the kind of the final stages before we select a publisher and go forward. Hope to have it out in January, actually.
That's right around the corner.
Yeah, it's right around the corner, which means, to be honest with you, the first couple of weeks of December, I have not been doing my job as an agent, which is talking to people. I've been writing all day, pretty much. I holed up in the studio here writing. But I did in November have 4 transactions, and I do have one so far this month that just kind of happened. I can't say I was the reason behind it, but it's nice to be in the business in a way where stuff sometimes just seems to happen. Yeah. So the truth is here, what I'll call the last 2 weeks of the year, I'm going to get back in my saddle and discipline myself to only write when I don't have production work to do. So it'll be fun to see what happens. And again, I can't predict the future. One of my favorite quotes in life is from the Nobel laureate Niels Bohr, the quantum physicist, who once said, prediction is difficult, especially about the future. So I don't really know what's going to happen. Nobody does.
Yeah.
I can only react to what's happening. That's the basic rule of life, right? You can't control what happens, only how you react to what happens. And so you could hear a pin drop in my business right now. I don't have anything going on. So I'm going to get after it. We'll see what happens over the next 2 weeks. But the cool thing is my expectation, Scott, my expectation is that I'll probably add another $50,000, $60,000 in the second half of the month. I love the power of being able to do that in commission income. And I also know exactly what to do. And I like that about my business. Yep. Also, I like that doing it isn't caustic. You know, I don't have to grind. I don't have to sell people. I don't have to be that pushy guy. If I stay on my game, I will be talking with people somewhere between 15 to 30 a day, depending on how my outreach goes.
Yep.
And I will get into discussions of discovery, and inevitably, I will identify actionable directions of business. For example, I had actually it was a guy I coach, and I got into a discussion of discovery with him. He's over in Santa Monica. And I said, hey, you know, Andrew, what's going on with you? Oh, well, the market's kind of down, and I'm playing more golf because there's nothing to do. And I said, gosh, that's exactly not what's happening with me. I said, I am artificially busy right now with writing my book, but normally I would have lots to do. I told him, I said, the truth is, it doesn't matter if the market's going up or down for me. It doesn't change anything. He goes, really? And I said, no, you know, the market isn't what controls my business. Interest rates aren't what control my business. Competition isn't what controls my business. And he says, well, what controls your business? And I said, I do. It depends on what I do. It's all about what you do as an individual. And he says, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I talk to people on and off throughout my day in discovery mode. And he goes, well, I should have known that. I've been taking your coaching for some time. And I said, yeah, you should have actually. And I said, so, you know, let me know what's going on with you. What's the hottest property you know about in the market today? And he goes, well, gosh, I can't say I really know of anything, but, you know, and he really didn't have a propertunity in his head. Yeah. And this is someone that I've coached. He should have a opportunity in mind. He should be the guy who's going around with an opportunity property in his back pocket, so to speak, right? And
let me jump in, Fred. There's such a profound reality around that, because almost everybody we're talking to, whether it's a seller selling one home, a buyer buying one home, that generalities don't move people because they're looking for one thing.
That's
and
right.
For agents not to have that one thing that's top of mind, then why in the world would we expect lean in from anybody?
Exactly.
Talking in generalities.
And it's so true. And to use the word general, not generalities, but generally, what we're trying to do in our career is raise the odds of doing another deal.
Yep.
That's what we're trying to do. Every agent's trying to do that. So how do you do that? Well, you have that future model where you can get busy working today, trying to make the future pay. The problem is most agents don't survive in the meantime economically. This is why trying to emulate a team's behavior can be risky for an agent that doesn't have a team, because the team is working together to generate business, right? And of course, the team leader's claiming all that business and paying everybody a spiff. But if you're an individual agent, you got to make it happen yourself. And so if you're trying to emulate the team thing, you go broke in the meantime. And this is the pattern that happens in the industry over and over. It's a sad story in a great industry, because at any time you can add $20, $30, $40, $50,000 in income, but not if you're future modeling. So I'm not against future modeling. I'm just saying that puts you in a different loop. And we talked about this a few weeks ago, I think. Yeah. Okay. Trying to make today pay. That's the theme today. Trying to up the odds of making today pay. You got to be open to the fact that lack of opportunity isn't your problem. You see, most agents, they get busy doing other things and trying to make the future pay because they don't think they have any opportunity today. And this is how that loop of failure that can be expensive, time consuming, a lot of effort, and you got to have the right know-how to get that to pay off down the road. That can be problematic. So if you don't believe that opportunity is here now, you're in trouble. And if you think the economy, interest rates, competition are the things that determine whether or not you're really going to have any opportunity, you're in trouble. You see, the truth is the economy doesn't control your business. Interest rates and competition don't. The only thing that controls your business is change and your access to it. This is the only thing. That's why when you say, Scott, gosh, Fred, I bet you're really doing well, and I bet things are still going for you, up market, down market, is because I'm not paying attention to that stuff. What I'm paying attention to is people and how change in their lives, which is inevitable and constant, is affecting their real estate wants and needs or not. That's what I do up market. That's what I do down market. It doesn't matter. At the bottom of the recession that year, like 2009, 10, I did 92 transactions. Everybody else was, dead. There were 3 of my colleagues, real estate agents, that I went through a country club gate and they were the guard. They had just washed out of the business, but they did not have a way to generate business. They knew in some part how to generate leads over time, but they had to survive in the meantime. So they took a job. Yep. So that's the difference here, is tuning into change, because change is constant and everybody lives somewhere, which means everybody's real estate wants and needs are always subject to change. And once you realize that's where the game is happening, that's where it's unfolding, paradigm shift, whole different world for you as an agent. So that's the world that I reside in. So this happened. I was talking to the agent that I mentioned a while ago, asking him, did he know of a opportunity? And he, no. And I said, well, do you have any new clients coming? And he said, well, I wish I did. And then he goes, well, wait a minute. This guy actually has some apartments out in your area. He said, would you be interested in talking to him? Would you take a referral if I did that? And I said, well, of course I take referrals. I take referrals. I pay 25%. I ask 25% when I send one. That's fine. It's another way to generate business, right? But talking to people, you notice how that referral came up. But here's the cool part. So he hooks me up with this guy, and I get into a discussion of discovery. God is my witness. This is what happened. So I said, so Randy, how long have you known Andrew? And he said, oh gosh, quite some time. And I said, fantastic. And I said, now, are you from the Santa Monica area? And he said, well, we were from the Santa Monica area, but now we live in Palm Desert, which, that's my hood. Okay. We're La Quinta, Palm Desert, Indian Wells, Palm Springs, that Rancho Mirage, that's where I do business and where my offices are. And so I said, really, where did you come from? Santa Monica directly? And he said, no, we came from Iowa. And I said, Iowa? And he goes, yeah. And I said, where in Iowa? And he goes, Fairfield. And I said, Fairfield? I know where Fairfield is. And he goes, you do? He says, I don't think I've ever met anybody outside the state who knew where Fairfield was. And I said, yeah, Maharishi U. And he goes, oh my God, you know about Maharishi International University? And I said, yeah. Now, people, a little aside for me, in 1976, a dear friend of mine taught me or introduced me to transcendental meditation. And although I'm not, a transcendental meditation guy, so to speak, I've meditated ever since. Over 40 years, I meditate in the morning and I meditate in the afternoon, 20 minutes. And so the guy that founded this program was from India, and he started this school in Fairfield. And a lot of people who learned how to meditate wanted to live in Fairfield. So this guy and his wife moved from Santa Monica in order to have their children go through the school system in Fairfield, Iowa. And he's going, oh my gosh, I can't believe you know about all this. And he says to me right then, he says, I guess I found my realtor, just like that. Right now, what I did was I found a common bond. That's not necessarily what I was looking for, but that's what happens when you're in discovery mode. So fast forward a little bit in the conversation, I said, well, tell me what you got. And he says, I have a 7-plex. And I said, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? He says, well, I want to sell it yesterday. I said, okay, have you thought about the value? And he goes, yeah, I want 2.9 million. And I said, okay, now let me just do a little bit of math here. You're where? Okay, nice location in Palm Desert. Okay, you have how many? 7? And I said, okay, that's $415,000 a door. I said, that might be a little rich. And he goes, yeah, I know, but a guy just down the street and around the corner got $400 a door just 2 months ago. And I'd really like to see if we could get it. And I said, well, what would you do if you couldn't get a penny more than $2,500,000? Are you not going to sell? And he says, no, we'll still sell. He reveals this to me, right? So I said, okay, well, I need to walk the ground. when can we go see it? And he said, as soon as you want. So I made the appointment for Tuesday. So just 2 days ago, I went to see the property. This is live in my business, right? I've been writing a book. I haven't been doing promotions or anything like that, but I get on the phone, I get into discovery, it leads to a referral. Now I'm walking the ground with this guy, right? And I like his location. I like the look of things. I asked him, how are the interiors? And he goes, I haven't even been in some of them in maybe 10 years. And I said, you haven't? And he says, well, I'm not the property manager. I pay a company. I said, oh, I see. I said, what's your feeling? And he said, I think a couple are kind of rough. I said, well, we're going to have to see them. People are going to want to look at it. So he gets right on the stick, and he got into the one that he had the biggest worry about, and is redoing the flooring today. He's got somebody over there today redoing carpets and things. And tomorrow he and I are going to go walk the other 6 units, and then I'm going to put it on the market. So because I do that regularly, I talk with people regularly. I'm talking to another person who's out walking, and I find out that her neighbor has 5 houses in the area that he might be wanting to sell. And so she puts me in touch with this guy, and I talk to him, and he says he wants $2 million. He wants, 400 a house, and he's in San Diego, and they've been rental properties, but he's got a property in San Diego that he wants to exchange into. So now I'm hooking Randy up to go see these houses while we sell this, and then adding another one for 900,000 and $1 so that he could do an exchange out of the complex into these 5 houses, right? His income will actually go up. And I think his internal rate of return, his, appreciation, et cetera, will go up too. And this is what happens when you get in the mode of talking with people in discovery mode. You get reveals. And then when you do it regularly, you get cross-pollination. You get one matching with another. But most agents, they don't have this phenomena even going on, Scott, in their business.
Yep, I know. And you mentioned earlier that you go into this journey every day without having any angst, because you have this anticipation and this expectation because of all these years of experience of seeing it show up time after time after time, day after day after day. And I think that's such a key part of this. And and I guess you have, like everybody, they'll develop that same excitement and expectation and having fun on this journey by simply doing it. It doesn't work the other way around. You don't wait till you're having fun and everything is in place and then you do it. You start the journey, and pretty soon you end up with the perspective that you have because you've proven it. And if you don't know Fred's background, he mentioned 4 deals in November. Well, Fred has averaged 4 deals a month his entire 30-year career, whether the market's going up or down. And it is such a picture of what these skills produce for the people that learn them and go execute and talk to people. And it's remarkable. So we're going to give you a pass for December because you're writing a book, but looking at the 11 months of the year already in the books, I'm assuming that you again have averaged about a sale a week.
Yeah. I'm pushing $1 million in gross income, and, I've had a tremendous year. Now we could say, the COVID period made everybody successful because the real estate market went kooky. But this last year, certainly since June or July, hasn't been that way.
Not at all. No,
right. No. So, again, success in real estate, people, is about what you're thinking. Okay. It all starts there. If you're not in the right place mentally, game over. You know this. You're a longtime, lifetime athlete, Scott. The person who's positive and can do has a huge advantage over the person who's negative and can't do mentally. Be positive, don't be negative, right? Isn't that the classic advice? It's required. But here's the rub. In real estate sales, I know a lot of agents who are upbeat and positive, and they're still failing to achieve their financial objectives. It's not enough. It's necessary, but you must plus being positive with being what I call opportunitive, meaning you have to tune into how opportunity is actually working. And scarcity isn't the problem in the business because everybody's changing and everybody lives somewhere.
Yeah.
The only problem is you.
What's interesting about that reality, Fred, is go back a year when everybody said this was the greatest market in the history of the world. You have exactly the same percentage of people living in a house as you have today. It's all of them.
Correct. And people always say to me, how many listings do you have? And I say, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4, 5. No, I never carry that many because back in the early 90s, I tried to carry as many as I could and I hated my life. Dealing with all these people and I'd sell 10 properties in a month and then 30 of them are still mad. I had 40 listings, that kind of thing. I hated it. So I decided I'm only going to carry properties that I'm actively working. And I know Listing 101 teaches get as many listings as you want. This is a now model. It's not a future model. So I like to work with people who I really think I can sell. And I do a lot of dual agency. Some people don't like that. That's fine. I like it. I do it. I just was earlier today on a call with a group in South Africa, and they only do dual agency in South Africa. So whole different way of looking at it. But at the end of the day, there's always this opportunity to go forward behaviorally. But when I say be opportunative, I mean, start understanding how opportunity actually works. Most people don't. I wrote a book about it, The Third Law of Success, and it's beyond me. If somebody doesn't go buy that book, go to Amazon, buy that book, or they don't get the e-reader or whatever, I just don't get it. Why wouldn't somebody want to understand how opportunity actually works? Because people, I hate it when people say this to me, so I'm not sure I can pull it off, but I'm going to do it with you. Trust me. You don't know how opportunity works yet. You need to understand that lack is not the problem in terms of opportunity and availability. The problem is the way you're looking at opportunity. You got to shift your paradigm. So mental, if you want to succeed in real estate sales, you got to be positive and you got to be opportunistic, not opportunistic. You could still be opportunistic. That's, the idea that you're going to get yours before someone else does, maybe, and take advantage before it goes away. I get opportunism, but when you're opportunative, you understand that opportunity is always available and that lack of it is never the challenge. And almost no one operates in that place, but that's the place I operate mentally. So when I go out in the day and I get up in the morning, if I had an off day, I know tomorrow there'll be opportunity for me. That's never my worry. That's freedom, people. So you got to get your mind in the right place. 2, you have to get your job descriptions zeroed in correctly. And if you want to up your odds of doing business sooner versus later, more effectively at less cost. Remember, I don't do any marketing. I don't do any social media. I don't have a brand. I still do business because those aren't the things that determine my success. My mindset, particularly surrounding opportunity, and my behavior each day. I talk to people. If I'm talking to people throughout my day, day in and day out, I'm going to end up doing a lot of business. Why? Because when I talk to them, I do it in discovery mode, which is that third thing you got to do. You got to learn to get the flow of information coming your way in a conversation instead of it going from you to the public. And we're taught in the industry to have outflow, information going from us, outreach, build an impression, be known, be seen.
Pitch, sell,
close, serve. All of these things, which are valid in individual concepts, but they push your success farther away. And that doesn't mean they're going to make you fail, but you're not going to succeed with it till a long time down the road. And only if you got your wallet out and kind of placed it on the desk and you just leave it there, right? And you're consistent with this over a long period of time. These team leaders that you see, people, have been in trial and error mode for a very long time with lots of breakage, figuring out how to scratch and claw their way to the top of the heap. And I salute them. But if you ask them, how do you do a deal by the end of the day or have a new client by the end of the day? They don't have any idea. It's a different model. This is a now model. So your mind's got to be in the right place, particularly surrounding opportunity. Your job description has to be talking to people. I have a client right now who he sent me this long email, and I don't respond to emails pretty much. I'll text real quick or I'll call because I know the value is in the call. Talking to them. So if I get an email from somebody about the business, I'll text them saying, got your email. When would be a good time to talk? Because I want to talk to them. Okay. But most agents will dutifully respond with an email. I don't do that. And so I told this guy and he says, well, I only communicate by email. So I said, then I guess we're not going to be able to communicate. And then his wife emailed me back because it was a double feed. And she said, call me at noon today. Right? Because I have somebody for their house. I don't even have it listed yet.
Yeah.
And we want to show it tomorrow, right? Before it even hits the market. So again, when you're practicing this model, mindset, what you're thinking, day set, what you're doing, word set, how you're doing it. When you do this regularly, you have the luxury of working with people you want to work with and not having to work with people that you don't. I always tell agents, quit being the doormat and start being the door. You're not the doormat, people. You're the door. You shouldn't get walked all over by everybody so that you can get a deal. You
The
should
door
have
to
the ability.
opportunity. The door to opportunity. I love
You're
that.
the door to opportunity.
So, Fred, let me back up a little bit on that concept that you just mentioned, that when you're talking to people, you know, and how you get information flowing your way. And we've talked before about the words, I don't try to be interesting. I try to be interested.
Yes.
And there's such a difference. And everybody picks up on whether someone talking to them has an agenda and wants something from them, or just simply is taking an interest in them out of just the curiosity of life and relationships, being completely unencumbered. And it doesn't matter to you whether any one conversation turns into a lead, because you know that the way the world goes around, that by the time you have enough of them, organically people have needs and they arise. But the freedom you have comes across to everybody. About, you know, the obscure little college in Iowa. I mean, just taking an interest, and yeah, everybody wants that. Human nature is, none of us want to be sold. I mean, I go into Nordstrom once in a blue moon. I don't shop. I'll go in when I'm so overdue to buy a suit, it's ridiculous. And even then, I'll walk in and the salesperson will say, "Can I help you?" And you know what I say?
Just looking.
Just looking. That's a lie. I don't shop. I don't look. But nobody wants to be pitched and sold. And the reason you're having so much fun on this journey is because you're totally encumbered. None of that burden is on you. And I mean, this is revolutionary, the approach.
Well, you know, it's a couple of great qualities that come out of this. One is freedom, which you're talking about here. And the other is power. I have the power to generate income. I know how to do it. If I need to go make another 50 grand, I go make the money. Don't you all want that kind of power?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, of course. But you've got to shift your paradigm. You got to get out of that place that says opportunity is rare, fleeting, not always available, hard to hang on to, and you better get it before someone does. But you can work today to create it in the future, which you can work to try and create that long game of lead generation. You can, but it takes time, money, effort, and know-how. That's called breakage. Okay. Most people fail to achieve that. Then there's sitting around hoping something happens. And that can happen. You got a license. Some people know you're in the business. Hey, you know, could you help us? And you do. And you think, okay, but then that stops and you got nothing again. Yep. The cool thing about this model, which is, again, excuse me, that mindset piece, that day set piece, talking to people, that word set piece, talking with them from a place of interest and in discovery mode. And then there's that goal set piece, that fourth piece, which is actually doing it today, not putting it off till tomorrow. Yep. Okay. So once you have those four elements working together and you make that your pattern, your loop, you actually change the way the loop works. Instead of this loop of failure, you're in a loop of success. And what happens is some certain things. One is cross-pollination. Have you ever heard me talk about the empty glass sphere, Scott? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah. I'm talking about the objects inside the sphere and how much noise they're making.
Yeah, let's just go through that because it's a good illustration.
Yeah,
you got an empty.
By the way, so 11:03, we are going to have a full hour to 11:30, and so I just want to make sure we're tracking the same way so that we don't, end up closing and saying, "Oh my gosh, there was something so big I wanted to share." So,
okay, well, in 60 seconds, let me do this just to give the illustration, and then you go ahead and moderate. Let's stay on a certain track.
Okay.
But you got an empty sphere, people. There's air inside. If you hold that sphere and you shake it, you hear nothing because there's nothing inside. If you put one BB inside and you shake it, you hear the BB pinging around. Now, what happens if you put 10 BBs in? You hear shaking it. What happens if you have 100 in there? That's called cross-pollination, because there's a point at which these dots of information, these BBs, start to hit one another. And so that's what happens in my business. I'm talking with people in discovery mode. I'm getting reveals of actionable directions, and I'm doing that regularly. And I start to get cross-pollination, like the guy in Palm Desert with the 7-plex and the guy in La Quinta with the 5 homes, and matching them together. This is how it works. This is what it looks like. But again, the fundamentals are your mind's got to be tuned into how opportunity works. You've got to be talking to people on the phone or face-to-face or Zoom to Zoom, however. And you have to be doing it in discovery mode way, getting the flow of information to come your way. So that's the 60 seconds, Scott.
I love that. And, if somebody is somebody on this Zoom today is saying, I don't know these skills. I haven't been talking to people the right way. I'd like to dive more into this production model. What would be the path for somebody to learn more about the production model? And I know your website has a lot of free stuff. You now have a more organized program teaching the production model than you've ever had. Let's spend a minute on that now, so that we're not scrambling at 11:30 going, oh my gosh, we haven't told anybody how to move forward and learn more about this.
Well, I'll tell you, some of you folks at Agent Inc. that are in the Orange County area, you could get into the office sometime when Scott's there and corner him. He knows the model.
Yeah, very well.
That's one way you could do it.
Yeah,
you can try and corner me, but the truth is I have thousands of people trying to corner me. So it's time is limited. And this is why we bottled it. This is why we created the online learning course. It's a mini masters in the production model and how to make it rain. So that's available for people. And I will tell you, it's going up from $14.97 to $27.97 in January, the program. Every agency and publishing house and online marketing specialist has said we're grossly underpriced, that it's a ripoff in reverse. So we're going to accede, we're going to raise it. So FYI, if you want to get involved and save almost $1,500, you could do that. But you go to theproductionmodel.com or to fredwilsoncoaching.com, look for a free webinar. You could listen to the webinar. I give 3 lessons there, and then you could sign up if you want, and you could take that program. Yes, I have things on YouTube and occasionally other things, but mostly it's me doing things with someone like you, getting the word out to groups of agents or people taking the actual production model. And of course, eventually we'll have the book. And I've had some people say, oh, don't write it all down in a book. Why would anybody buy your program? Well, they're 2 completely different things. The book is a book and the program is an online learning course. And people who want to really develop the power to make money this month, they're going to invest that money if they believe that it could work for them. And the ones who don't want to do that, I salute them. There's all kinds of coaching you can get. There's all kinds of things you can do. I know there's always more opportunities, so I'm not worried about how many people do it or how often they do it or anything, but we bottled it. It's magic in the bottle. The very best review I've ever gotten for the program is Fred Wilson's online learning course. The production model is not rocket science. It's rocket fuel. I love that review. So again, it's available if people want to do it. Not upselling, but that's what I do. I talk about the production model and I teach the production model and I practice the production model and I write about it. That's what I do. Those are the only things I do.
Okay, I love it. So you mentioned that first 2 weeks of this month, you've been writing your book. You're going to get back into your game now between now and the end of the year.
Yes.
And you are very confident it's going to produce results. So
yes.
you're going into back to your workday mode.
Yes, I'll be riding around the sides and on the edges and, late or early.
But you are clear, the opportunity is going to show up, it by experience. And you also know that you're going to have fun on this journey because you're unencumbered from any one person needing to provide anything for you. You simply don't care. You're just taking a sincere interest in people, knowing that change is happening. So
Yes.
let's break down as you go back into what's today, Thursday. So if you go back into your work mode tomorrow, you mentioned you're going to talk to inevitably 15 to 30 people. Let's break down what that day looks like. And what I also know, having followed your journey for a while, that this does not take you 8 hours to accomplish this goal. So let's talk about what tomorrow looks like. If it's going to be a day that you're back working your plan and on that journey, what is that going to look like?
Well, what I like to do is start the day with what I call the morning get set. So this is a 15-20 minute period where I'm doing 5 things to get my game on for that day. Now, you've heard of people talk about the miracle morning or putting your armor on for the day or having the perfect day. This is something like that. But I do these 5 things real quickly. The first thing that I do is I connect to my why, my driver. I acknowledge consciously why I'm in the real estate business, why that's important to me, what I'm trying to accomplish, and why the alternatives are not acceptable. Right? Because that's the problem, is all the alternatives we have. So I get that straight. Then I tune into opportunity. I remind myself that there's opportunity for me today, not yesterday, not tomorrow, today. It's the only place you can find opportunity is in the now. That's the fact. And I remind myself that it's available to me if I can identify it. So I've got my game on mentally that way in terms of connecting to my driver, my why, and tuning into the fact that opportunity is always available. That's 2. And then what I do, in fact, I think I pulled it up here. Let me just see. I did. I can send this PDF to you, in fact, at some point if you want, Scott. Yeah. But then what I do is I resolve to make today pay. In other words, I remind myself that I'm in business generation today, not lead generation for tomorrow. Those are different worlds. I have to find actionable directions of business today. Wow. Most people don't think that way, right? They think I'll be busy today trying to create business some other day. I'm trying to find actionable directions, a new buyer, new seller, a new opportunity, whatever it is, today. So I resolve that I'm going to make today pay. That's the theme of our talk here today. That's 3. Number 4, I review my plan and strategy, which you were alluding to a moment ago. My plan is to talk to 10 people by 10 a.m. in the morning, to talk to 3 groups of 5 people throughout the day, each group being 5 individuals separately, then to talk to 5 people at 5 p.m. to end my day talking to people. And then I've programmed my phone on the quarter after the hour, so 1:15, 2:15, 3:15 throughout the day, to ping me. And at that moment when it pings, I got to pick up the phone and call somebody. That's called a snap call. So if I have that 5 or 6 times and I do these other things, I'm over 30 attempts to talk to people. And most agents aren't. And oh, by the way, Scott, we've talked about this before. How many people do you think have even tried to call 10 people by 10 a.m. in the morning who are in the business? Anybody?
Almost none.
Almost none. So I've set my day up in a completely different way than other people who are working on their social media and they're getting their coffee and, whatever. Okay. So 1, I tune into my why. 2, I tune into my driver. 3, I resolve to make today pay. 4, I review my plan and strategy. I gave you my plan. My strategy is when I'm talking to people to do it in discovery mode, to get the flow of information coming my way in conversations. And I consciously acknowledge this. And then 5, I confirm my tactics and my techniques. And again, I might, in terms of my tactics, pick the people I'm going to talk to. And everybody's always asking me, who should you talk to? Well, what I do with my 10 by 10 a.m., I call people in my sphere of influence or possibly past clients. So they're very warm calls, let's call it. In my 3 groups of 5, I'll pick people in certain categories of industry. So I'll pick a builder. I'll pick an escrow officer as one category, as 2 categories. I'll pick attorneys, architects. I'll pick doctors, dentists, teachers as a category, and I'll call 5 in there. And whether or not I get to them, let's say I only get to the gatekeeper, that's fine. And then at 5 p.m., it's usually I have callbacks that I can make, because when I get into a callback, I do that business with them, and then I switch into discovery. So it doesn't matter who I talk to. It doesn't matter when I talk to them. It matters that I talk to them in a certain way. So those are my tactics. My techniques are ask to listen technique, vending opportunity properties. I call them opportunities. Triangulation for truth. That's asking the same question in 3 different ways in a conversation, because that's how you vector in on what's really most likely to happen. And I use things called money makers, which are power statements and impact questions. They're one-liners. Like I'll say to a seller, I don't want your listing. I want your sale. Or I'll say to a buyer who's interested in a property, real estate is cosmic. If you like it, somebody else does too. All right. And I have all these little one-liners that I like to use to spice up the conversation and create what I call a tell. And this is how I do it. I spend my day roughly doing those things. And, we've charted this in the past, and I never spend more than about 4 hours doing this in a day.
That's amazing.
And I never spend really more than about 4 days a week doing it. You don't need to do that much of this to have an incredible impact on your income. Now, is somebody motivated to do that? That's a whole different story. It's a whole different conversation. But I start my day with that morning get set, and then I go into that plan that I outlined. And when I'm doing it, I'm in discovery mode. I'm taking an interest people. I'm not trying to sell them anything. And then I'm using these particular skills and techniques that I've developed that I teach in my online program. And that's what I do, Scott.
Fred, I'd love to spend the remainder of our time, or at least part of it, talking about that dynamic that makes the discovery mode so powerful, because I've watched you, and you sincerely, honestly, with every fiber of your being are listening to see if there's a need, if you can add value. There isn't anything in your agenda where you're hoping that they can help you. You're just unencumbered with the freedom of saying, what's your story? What's going on in your life? How can I add value? And I mean, it's subtle, but it makes all the difference, because everybody senses somebody that is about them and not about their own agenda. And our industry teaches us to be about our own agenda so much of the time, and it falls flat. So let's talk about that, and let's spend a minute on, you mentioned while you're talking to people, other people are working on their social media. Well, let's spend a minute or two on the psychology of why does that avoidance behavior kick in? What's causing that fear of failure, fear of rejection that is keeping people stuck, and often it's subconscious. But I tell you, I want people to catch the freedom that you have in the way you talk to people, because of what you've proven over time. And you can save everybody in this business years and years of learning because of your experiences and your journey. And this is just a gift. There's an old saying, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And, I've got to believe today we've got people on this call that are saying, hey, I'm ready for something new to happen.
Well, it's funny, just in the last couple of months, because I get testimonials that come in from people, they're really excited, and they'll send me an email, or I'll get a voicemail, or they'll do a little recording and send it to me like, oh my God, because this just happened with the production model, and they're going to make another 40 grand that they wouldn't have made, right? See, that's the hallmark of the production model. You identify business that you otherwise would have missed.
Yep. It's
like pure gain. Right. And so it turns out that both of these people are from Santa Monica. That's a weird coincidence, because I coach agents all over California and now around the world, actually. But they were both from Santa Monica. They don't know each other. And this one was a woman, one was a man. They've both been in the business for almost 40 years.
Wow.
And they're taking my program. And she says, oh my gosh, I just wish I'd learned this 35 years ago when I got in the business. I would have saved myself so much brain damage, And then same thing with the guy, Charles. He says, oh, geez, my team, my partners and I, there are 3 kind of top agents that have this team. And he said, we've done over $3.5 billion in sales in our career together. He said, I think we would have done 10 if we'd have known the production model. Wow. So what it does is it pluses what you're doing. And how does it do that? It causes you to identify opportunities that you otherwise would not have even known about. And that's the beauty of it, the brilliance in it. And you can do this at any time, in any situation, with anybody. So when I'm talking with people, I'm careful to keep the agenda about information coming in. And, you know, I mentioned those moneymakers a moment ago. A lot of people say to me, what's your favorite one-liner? I get that question. And I'll say, it's called the empathy script. And they say, what's that? And I say the following words: I understand. Tell me more. I say that to people in a conversation 5, 6, 7 times in 5 minutes.
Wow.
I'm the guy who's giving it to them. I understand what you're saying. And you can say that a million different ways. You can say, that makes sense. Oh, I see. I get it. Oh, wow. Yep. Yeah. Light bulbs, you know, there's a million ways you can have empathy. And then now tell me more. What would you do if? I'm curious. Answer this. And I keep that flow of information coming my way, being it all about them, not about me. In fact, I did a live role play this morning at 6 a.m. with a group of a couple hundred agents in South Africa, a live role play. And after that little 5-minute conversation in which I identified an opportunity, and everybody goes, oh, right. I never met this woman before in my life, in a little town outside of Johannesburg called Randburg, I found out. Anyway, the point is, I said, Monica, what did you notice about this? And she says, well, you learned all this stuff about me, but I still don't know anything more about you. And frankly, I don't need to. I feel really good, she said.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not trying to make an impression. I'm not trying to get her to work with me. I'm trying to find out how change is affecting her life and what she's doing and how the confluence of all those things affect her real estate wants and needs or don't affect her real estate wants and needs. That's all I'm doing.
Yep.
And a yes is just as good, or a no is just as good as a yes for me. I'm okay with no. Go in a new direction. That's fine. No means next opportunity anyway. See that mindset? NO means next opportunity. Most people don't look at it that way. The real estate industry is obsessed with rejection, Scott. Obsessed with it.
Yep.
I don't even face it. It doesn't even matter, because a no to me is simply the start of another opportunity to ask another question, to go in a new direction, to not be frustrated or flustered, to not have worry that no is somehow negative. Remember, people, no is really a verbal thing, a languaging thing. You could say for zero, for nothing. You got nothing. And zero isn't negative, people. Think about it mathematically. -1 is negative. 0 is just a fresh place to be and start. And we start each day at 0. And this is why I make my career, Scott, just this week. Most agents talk about the quarter or the year or the month. To me, it's just this week. What am I doing this week? And I know what I'm doing. I'm talking to people in discovery mode. And I know how I'm doing it. I've learned the skill of discovery. So I get reveals. They're not predictable, but they will come. And then I start connecting the dots. And that's how I roll, Scott, right there.
Well, no wonder you're having fun. I mean, anybody's going to have fun, but this reality that you've tapped into that people miss is that because change is happening every day in everybody's life, there is something to discover today that wasn't there yesterday. And you and I could walk into any neighborhood, whether it's in La Quinta or whether it's in San Juan Capistrano, and we could find things out that somebody that's been farming that neighborhood for 30 years doesn't know, just by talking to somebody, getting in their car, watering their lawn, not this time of year, and find out that they had a conversation with their neighbor last night and found out the neighbor's getting transferred to Massachusetts. And exactly. Nobody that's marketing to that neighborhood knows that, but now we know that.
No shot. That's right.
And that it is a gift. It's a gift for everybody, but so few are seeing it as an opportunity and going out there and having fun uncovering it. And you know what? Everybody deserves to have more fun in this business on this journey.
Well, fun is making money.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I saw Beth and we watched some Netflix and we finished a little series, which is really cute, about that Pepsi contest that the kid tried to get a Harrier jet back in the 90s. Anyway, it's a documentary. We watched this. And afterwards, there's some, trailers for some other things. And this one guy says, money can't buy you happiness. And she goes, what? Are you crazy? It sure can, she says. And there is an aspect to having money and having more joy in your life. I'm not saying it's about money, but money helps. It's a tool. It lets you do. Yeah.
We live in a world where it's needed.
When it's needed. And so people make more money. And I totally get that. But one of my classic case studies, I have all these case studies, shows you how the truth is a moving target in people's lives. So I had been to the podiatrist, and I got to talking to one of the staff members, and I found out she was about ready to retire, and that she, had a daughter and a son, and Nothing really came of it. But I had said, are you planning on moving? Well, when I retire, we're thinking of moving. And I said, well, tell me about your home. What is it you like about it? Give me the 3 things you like the most. She told me. And I said, what are 3 things you don't like about it? And she gave me a couple of things. And I said, what would you do if I knew of a house that had everything you like in it and none of the things you don't like? Would you even want me to call you and tell you about it? And she goes, well, yeah, you could let me know, but I'm not saying we'd do anything. So a few days later, I'd identified a property that I wondered if it could be a match for her. So I called her back, and she goes, no, that one won't work. And she goes, but my daughter just found out she's pregnant with twins, and they're in an apartment, and they're going to need to buy.
Amazing.
This is what people don't have access to otherwise.
Yeah.
And they don't realize how opportunity works. It's 3-dimensional. It can happen at any time, in any place, in any form. Are you tuned into that, people? Are you taking advantage of that? Do you have a program or a platform to do that and the skills to make it real? Because again, what we're trying to do is up the chances of doing business sooner versus later. That's what we're all trying to do. This is highly effective if you learn it and you do it. There it is.
And Fred, a lot of people heard you just say, if you have the skills, and immediately they went to a place and said, I don't have the skills. And there's an answer for that too, that will free you up to go out on this journey. Those of you at Agent Inc., you're surrounded by a team where there isn't one lead you can bring to me, and I can't connect you with an expert to serve that need, whether it's a 7-plex or whether it's a luxury home or whether it's a townhome in Buena Park. We have somebody. And so good news for you. You have an opportunity to bring incredible value to any need out there just by letting me know what you found out, and I'll connect you with a partner that will make you money, because it'll turn into a result. And that is the power of a team. Now, Fred in his market has ridiculous expertise and knowledge, so he's not looking for partners on anything, but most of you aren't Fred. You don't have that experience, and that's okay.
And if an agent comes to me and they said, will you help me with this client? We'll work out some arrangement. I'll
Sure.
do that. I don't care. But I could also give them a tip or two, and they do it on their own. Hopefully, I don't care either way. I just want people to be marching forward towards success. That's my aim.
Well, and another sabotage that people don't realize is that's causing your fear of failure, fear of rejection. You don't have feels that you have the skill. The horror of identifying a perfect lead today and having them not want to work with you makes me not even want to go talk to people. But break through that and know that any lead you find, I will make you look like a superstar in front of that client by pairing you with, the right person, so you have a powerful team story. And that's a big part of this, because you can't let that fear keep you from wanting to go uncover that opportunity. But
and I don't know if you remember that audio that I sent you that was the trial audio for one of my new webinars coming up. Do you remember that? It was about an hour long. It had maybe 7 or 8 agent testimonials in it, and several case studies from me.
If your group can send that to me again, I'll
send it to you if you want to send it to people, because they'll be able to hear these live agents and what happened to them.
Yeah.
Because people, so they need proof, somehow.
Well,
Okay,
and
fine.
we
You know.
need that. We need that all the time, but we really need it to now because everybody in our industry is bemoaning the fact that their business went away. They're negative. I call them inner office terrorists. You know, all they're doing is talking to everybody about how there's no opportunity.
Yeah.
And so we need that.
And I'll tell you, just this morning with the South Africa group, I mean, there's literally hundreds of agents on this call. And this guy, the moderator, so your colleague down in Cape Town, Scott McDonald in Cape Town, so to speak, he says, has anybody been trying this? Because I did this with them last week, and the week before, kind of like what we're doing a little bit. And because there's literally like 400 people, right? So I thought this will be fun in South Africa. I'll do it. So and turns out they have an industry of real estate like ours, except everything's dual agent. They don't have listing or buyer agents or whatever. Anyway, they even say flipping and all the stuff we say, right? So, and they're looking for coaching. Now the Rand isn't as strong as the dollar, so they maybe not going to buy my program, but I don't care. That's fine. So he asks, "Is anybody in the group done this?" And ping, 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 you see these hands going up. So he picks this guy. I've never seen this guy before in my life. And he says, yes, in his accent, I can't do his accent right, He says, yes. He said, I went to a police commissioner's meeting because I was I was in the police, industry before, but I retired and now I'm in real estate. And he said, my goal is to make more money as a real estate agent than I did in my job that I had for almost 30 years in the police force, right?
Love it.
Right. And so he says he was at the meeting and he gets to talking to a guy at his table. And he gets into a discussion of discovery and finds out the guy wants to do something. And so they have a date today to meet for coffee to talk about doing that. And he said, that never would have happened with my old model. I never, ever would have done something like that. I didn't even know I could.
Amazing.
That's the difference maker, people. You're going to start to identify actionable directions you otherwise would have missed. And remember how mastery works. People who are worried about skills. Mastery is not something you can find. So if you're trying to get ready to be good enough to succeed, you've already failed. You have to dive in the water and swim in the water, swallow some water, because no one ever learned to swim standing on the beach. That's the fact, right? You got to jump in and try it, but mastery will find you with the right coaching. And I've bottled it. Scott has it right here. With the right coaching, mastery will find you. You don't find mastery, mastery finds you by doing. So I urge you to fail forward, try it, blow it, fall down, evaluate it, learn from it. Go Scott, go Fred, get a little better. Keep doing that, because the power to make $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000. I have $200,000 and $300,000 months, people. It's
Amazing.
Incredible what can happen to you when you develop a certain level of mastery. But what's beautiful is you don't have to be the best. You don't have to do it the most. You don't have to be number one. You don't have to work the hardest. You want to acquire these skills and start using them. You too will start making more money faster and easier. That's what will happen if you do it. The big question isn't, does it work? The big question is, will you do it?
Great closing word. Fred, I'm so inspired every time we connect. Thank you for taking your time with us today. Gang, dive into this, grab onto the opportunity. We'll continue the conversation another time. And thank you again, Fred.
My pleasure. Everybody get out there and make today pay. So long.
Bye now.
Bye.